and welcome to Wild Girls Gone Sober.
Woo! Welcome to another episode of Wild Girls Gone Sober. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Amy.
And we are living it up in sobriety in paradise.
That we are. I was just, I stopped into the local smoothie shop on the way in here, and the lady was asking how we found out, or how I found them, and I kind of like verbal vomited all over the place. I was like, oh, I was in here a couple weeks ago with my friend. We record a podcast around the corner, and blah, blah, blah. Like, way overshared. And she was like, oh, so they asked what the name of our podcast was.
Oh, God.
And I told them, I did. I said, oh, it's Wild Girls Gone Sober. Lindsay's so uncomfortable about this. Sorry, I'm just dropping this on you in the episode. And they were like, oh my God, that's so cool. And the lady's like, I assume you're talking about what it sounds like you're talking about. And I was like, yep, we're in our first year of sobriety, talking about what we're going through, blah, blah, blah. They were very sweet. It was very nice.
Well, what was she going to do? Like, throw the smoothie in your face? Be like, loser?
No, they were so cool. But the reason I was saying that was because you said we're living in a paradise, and she was like, well, you look like you're being very health conscious, and you look like you're fit, and blah, blah, blah. And like, she gave me, I know, she gave me like all these props, and I was like, yeah, that's us, living our best sober life. Like, yeah, we're so great. So, but anyway.
It's so funny. Especially how you've come full circle from like, oh, we're never going to talk about this outside of our personal lives.
Yeah, our roles have reversed.
For sure.
Hardcore.
So I just had my 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, that is so exciting. I'm so proud of you.
It was.
So proud of you.
So the day was really fun. Amy suggested that I give a little bit of my background of my story because I get really emotional and nervous in AA to speak about really anything. If I'm having like a bad day, I don't ever talk about it. Amy, you're so great about that. Like, Amy will go in there and just be like, it's day 3, I'm freaking out, I'm just, and shove a piece of chocolate in her face, and like, it's a game mode. Like, you're just so good at expressing how you feel like you're comfortable, and that's really what you should be doing. Because it's almost like when you do that, I can see the relief, like, just take over.
It is cathartic. I like sharing. Yeah,
right.
I do. Sometimes, not always, but like there's definitely times. But I feel like you guys hear a lot from me. You know a lot about me, what I've got going on in my world, and don't know as much about my amazeballs friend Lindsay. So yes, I think it would be really cool if you shared your story with people and just.
So on your 1 year in AA, they typically do like they say, okay, if anybody's at their 1 year at some meetings, and I don't know the platform for all the meetings, but it's like if it's your first year, you can come up and talk for 10 minutes and tell us what it was like when you start. I mean, we're not sure of the format, but we should probably know that. But
they say if anybody's celebrating an anniversary,
okay,
would you like to come up and share your experience, strength, and hope with us? That's what
they always say 3 words, right?
That's what they say. Your experience, strength, and hope. But yeah, I think when people get up, everybody's uncomfortable when they do it, and when they get up, they always say, okay, what it was like, what changed, like maybe what was the tipping point, and what it's like now. Like, so what was my life like when I was drinking? What was my craziness? What got me there? What changed? What did I go through getting sober? What are things like today?
So, all right.
Don't worry, I'll prod.
Okay, so my first drink was, they usually start, right? First drink.
Sure.
So my first drink was when I was 15. Yes, I was 15. I went to a house party with a bunch of girls. My mom, I was staying the night at a girlfriend's, and I got drunk off Zimas.
Oh, God.
Drunk off Zimas.
Oh.
And I ended up, and they're clear, right?
I can't believe that was still a thing when you were 15, because that was when I was in high school. Zima came out when I was 15.
I mean, I'm 33. I'll be 34 this year.
And I'm 41, so I've got a little time on Lindsay.
Yeah, so Zimas are clear, if you're not familiar. I don't even know if
and they
still
taste
make
like
them.
Black licorice. They're disgusting.
Oh, I don't know. They were good at the time.
Oh.
And I remember being at this house party and not even knowing what a house party was because it's so young. And I threw up, and it was clear because it was the Zima. So somebody's nose, and you slipped in it.
Oh no!
And I remember like army crawling to the bathroom to try to like why I was on the floor. I have no idea. And then it was kind of blackout.
Oh.
So my first, drunk kind of episode is already
was a big one.
well, yeah, but it didn't feel big, so that was like a blackout. And then I started drinking, and I tried a lot of stuff when I was younger because I was tall, thin, I had red frizzy hair. I didn't know what a straightener was or how to like curl my hair, and so boys,
Yeah, we didn't really have them in the 90s.
yeah, so boys didn't really like me. So I didn't have like the boy attention that all my girlfriends had because they were like gorgeous, you know, and like blonde or brown hair, just like. So I just never had that kind of attention, and while it wasn't like really bad, I just was like, all right, instead of experimenting with boys, I kind of experimented with like drugs instead. So I mean, smoked weed probably when I was 15 too, all that good stuff, tried some ecstasy, tried some acid, all this, even when I'm like so young, like when I think about it now, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
did you feel like doing those things, because I whenever I tell my stories, I can relate to that.
Right.
But part of it for me was that was what made me like one of the guys. Like that did get me the boys' attention as like their little sidekick, because I was the cool girl that would hang out and do all that kind of shit with them.
Yeah, and as I got older, like when I got to be like 16, you know, and there was like keg parties and you could drive, and my friends were always older, right? Because I'm sure you know,
My friends were always
you know, it was like the keg parties and things. So I mean, yeah, I was always one of the guys. I mean, we were trying to do a keg stand and fell because I was so drunk coming off the a shit show. So I think that I just, when I first started drinking, like the more I'm reflecting now, I started out alcoholically drinking, like just always drinking too much, blacking out. I didn't really like throw up a lot when I was younger. I did like wet the bed and do embarrassing stuff.
Oh, you were
like that.
here. Oh my God, I never did
So
that.
embarrassing.
I never did that. So many people talk about peeing
Yeah.
red when they're drunk.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the one thing I didn't like, and all right, we'll
Yeah,
talk about that
so-
someday. But
Yeah, so 16, 17, when I graduated high school, and then I was still drinking and smoking cigarettes and smoking weed, not really doing a lot of other stuff. I don't know, I guess I thought it was fine. And then when I moved out, I moved out when I was 17, 18 with my boyfriend, because that's always a good idea, right?
rocking it at the beach.
Rocking at the beach, he was older, we lived right, well, the first place we didn't, it was still kind of close to the beach, but just like, so it was cool to be like, have your own place. I remember I had this wine cooler that a lady that I worked with at the optometrist office. I sold glasses to people, which I freaking crushed it, even that young, but
They first you did.
of course. But she had given me this wine cooler for like our apartment, and it was like a secondhand whatever. So I was like, awesome. And I remember
Like a wine fridge.
like a wine fridge.
Yeah.
So we had that in our first apartment, and you know, I remember
How
filling
classy.
it up.
I
I
didn't
know.
even drink wine when I was that young.
God, I didn't drink anything. So I remember filling it up with wine, and then like a couple weeks later it was empty, and I'm like, well, this wine cooler is
It's
expensive.
just taking up a
Like,
lot of space.
no, I was just like, it's expensive. Like, what? Now I have to fill it back up again. But I would still drink it all, right? So yeah. So
It's not the
I
wine.
know.
It's the wine fridge. That's
So
awesome.
guess I'm trying to think of like in my story where I got to a point that it was really affecting, and I guess that's when it started, right? Because I lived with my boyfriend. I didn't have a job. I was just going to school.
Yep.
We broke up. I dropped out of school. Just worked, and I wouldn't have done that. I think that my emotions were, well, they were immature because I was so young, but also they were flooded with, you know, this like the alcohol, right? Like there was no time for my brain to mature enough to make decisions like staying in school.
For your
That's
best interest.
right.
Yeah.
To like staying in school is what you should do. Like fucking keep going, right? So I dropped it. I mean, it took me forever to get my bachelor's. I just got my bachelor's 6 years ago. I mean, that's a lot of school time and a lot of resources, a lot of my parents' frustration, a lot of my, you know, money just down the drain. So I just always drank. I went out with my friends.
Did you move back with your parents when you broke up with the boyfriend?
No, I moved in with a girlfriend.
Okay.
And that kind of, and my other friends lived downstairs, and that kind of was like our college party place. It just
Right.
happened to be
Right.
South Beach. And so yeah, I mean, I never really made those good decisions through that. And then I've always kind of dated guys I never dated guys that smoked cigarettes, but I always dated guys that like enabled my drinking, and that wouldn't be too like, oh, you really have a problem. Except for one did tell me I was an alcoholic, a raging alcoholic once. I was like, oh no, I promise I'll change. You know, we've all been there and done that. So I've been through these like rocky relationships, and you know, I've never, like, I didn't grow up with any trauma. Like, my parents didn't beat me. I wasn't molested. Like, nothing like bad happened, you know.
Right. But there was some self-esteem stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it started at your beginning of your story was, I was feeling insecure because my girlfriends got all this boy attention and I didn't. And so you were the party girl, and you were the party partner, you were larger than life.
Right.
Because you got attention from that. You may not have been seeking attention necessarily, but you received attention for it, which probably felt good.
Right.
Somewhere, and so it perpetuated behaviors.
Yeah, and I've never been able to just sit in my own thoughts, and like, they talk about this a lot, but just be like still and no noise, no nothing. Like, when you walk in the door and no one's home and you just like, it's just you and you're kind of like, oh, like, what do I do? What do I turn on?
Right.
And like, that was one thing I've always felt like, and I've always aspired to be, you know, somebody that liked to go running, that liked to exercise, that was smart, that could have an intelligent conversation, but still be a good time. And so I'm trying to think where I left off there. So all the bad decisions.
So you broke up with the boyfriend, you weren't living with him anymore, you moved in with a girlfriend, you guys were, you know, you weren't in school, but it was kind of like college party time.
Right.
Like, you were just having a good time and working and whatever.
And I always worked, for the most part. I always worked, always had a job. And then my drinking escalated to where, so I moved back in with my parents, but when I moved out the next time, I was like, it was almost like it had increased, because now I was like in my mid-20s, and you're supposed to kind of start getting your shit together, or at least have like a rough
concept.
Right, a rough draft of where you want to be, and I never had that. So I never had, like, when someone mentioned a 5-year plan, I was like, oh, I'll figure that shit out, like 5 years. Whoa, you're a planner.
Right.
And so
I still say that.
Right. So I've always not been able to be in my thoughts. I've always wanted to be somebody, like you said, like a woman of integrity, even though I never really even could grasp that concept until this week, really. And so yeah, I drank a lot when I moved out. I had a lot of just bad relationships. Not bad because it was like they were abusive or anything like that. It was bad that it just like enabled me to continue my actions. And I really I probably have done some serious damage to the people that were in my life at this time, because just like a tornado, I mean, the chaos just circled around. And you know, I feel like, and I don't mean to say this conceited, but I feel like I just broke a lot of hearts. Like, I kind of just found people that would do what I wanted, and not in like, oh, you know, kiss my feet, scrub my floor, but
I know what you mean.
Just like manipulate them to where, you know, drinking in the morning while I'm cleaning is normal, or things like just.
You found people who probably had stronger feelings for you than you did for them, because then they weren't going to question you, they weren't going to, you know, hold you accountable for anything.
Call me on my shit.
You got to do what you wanted to do, and they were going to kind of come along for the ride.
Right.
Totally get that. I married that. I was married to that for 10 years. Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
So, I mean, that was just kind of a crazy time, and you know.
What about consequences? Like, what was happening during that time that, you know, were some consequences that maybe like should have been wake up calls but weren't?
Good call. So when I was 21, the end of my 21st year, or 22, I think I was just turned 22. And yeah, I just turned 22, maybe 23, and it was, you know, the holiday party time. It was like December, and it was actually my passed away grandfather's birthday. It was December 21st. And so, like, my parents, I knew, were already going to be emotional about that. And I was leaving a house party, who I was actually leaving somebody's house that actually had passed away from addiction a couple years ago, which looks like a whole other story. But so I was leaving the house, and I was just leaving, and I was fine, you know, I'd only had a couple drinks, and then I passed by the gazebo, and there was some people I haven't seen in forever. So when I went in there, I smoked a little pot.
The gazebo, like, in these people's backyard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was leaving, and it was
like, is that the name of a bar? Or?
No, it's like a gazebo, like, you know.
It's an actual gazebo.
Yeah.
I know what a gazebo is.
Sorry.
Okay.
So,
Still at the house party. Got it.
yeah, so I was walking, leaving, and I hit at the joint or the bowl, whatever. And yeah, and I was driving, and I don't even know where I was driving to. Ended up driving to like St. Lucie West. Like I was on the drive, and I ended up driving to St. Lucie West for burger or for some food, right? And it hit me when I was stoned. So, anyways, got pulled over, got a DUI.
That was the first DUI.
That was the first
Okay.
DUI I had too.
I didn't realize you were that young for that. Okay.
Yeah, so you would think that would be a wake up call. Went to jail. I blew like a .1. It was over a .15 because here in Florida, when you blow over a .15, it's like a double the consequence as opposed to if you blow below.
It's
What do they call it?
an enhanced.
Yes, an enhanced.
Yeah, because I had that too. An enhanced DUI. It's like
Right. It's
yeah.
just like instead of somebody just punching you in the face once, you get punched.
Well, it's because
twice.
you double the legal limit.
Right.
Because .08 is the legal limit. So if you're .15, .16, I think they consider that double. Right.
Yeah. Oh, and I was
0.08,
definitely
0.15, yeah.
wasted. So go to jail. Of course, my dad picks me up, and my dad. Thank God it was my dad, and I was like, "Is mom there?" You know, and
Oh my god, I would have been the opposite.
I
Please don't send dad.
oh
Oh my
really?
god, please send
Oh
please
man,
don't
my
send
dad. So
Yeah,
I
would
follow I am my father, especially drinking.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we have the same drinking. We don't have enough button. We're
Oh,
loud
that's
and
an
wild.
interesting
Yeah,
thing you didn't talk about. So,
yeah.
is your dad an alcoholic?
I mean, yeah, I would probably say he was. I'm nobody to judge who should be an alcoholic and who isn't, but
Well, that's not really the point of that question, though. I mean,
yes,
you
I
grew
would
up
say yes.
around some alcoholism,
Oh yeah,
so that does form a little bit of what normal drinking is to you.
correct.
So you started drinking alcoholically right from the get-go, maybe partly because the model that you saw of normal drinking wasn't normal drinking.
Yeah, and there's some truth to that, and some that I'm like, you know, because
It's not blaming.
right,
It's
no,
just
it's just
a
my-
piece of the puzzle.
my dad worked construction, so he always worked out of town. I came home on the weekends until me and my brother got to be like 15. My brother was 18, and then my mom was like, "You need to come home. Like, I can't take care of these kids." And we were like fine kids. I mean, then, but so then he like came back and was there all the time. So it was a little bit more getting to know him again, whatever. So yeah, first DUI, all the consequences that follow a first DUI of going to AA, going to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, going to the
Yeah.
DUI 1 school, going to the attorney. I had an attorney who I was really naive. I didn't really understand anything about anything because my brain just, like, learning wasn't the top priority for me.
Well, that was really young to have that happen. Like when
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an awful thing to go through. I can attest, and I
So-
don't know the maturity level at that age, how I would have processed all of that.
Yeah,
It's
so I
really
still lived with my parents and I worked like less than a mile away. So that was convenient, right? Because
Well,
we all know that,
Yeah.
yeah, or whatever it was. I don't even think I got rides and stuff. Like, I mean, honestly, that whole part of the consequences of that, and there's just like pieces that just now are starting to come in as like fresh memories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've had that, but lately it's like, I feel like everything was blocked. Like things are just starting to come,
Like surface.
yes, slowly. Thank goodness. I can't imagine all that bubbling up at once.
Right. Well, I
So-
think the synapses reconnect, right? So
Mhm.
like we dumbed things down a lot in our brains for a long time drinking, and now that stuff clears up, and so as things get brought up, like connections are remade. Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I remember that
Right?
happening. Like, yeah.
So, yeah, the first DUI was, I don't have a problem. I just shouldn't have smoked pot
Right.
before I got in the car.
Right.
It was not my drinking.
No.
Couldn't have been,
No.
right?
No. Well,
The
weed-
green
It was
arrow.
probably the weed too. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the green arrow. That's right. It wasn't the alcohol, it was the pot. Yeah. I
So,
totally loved green
so I did that. I did that whole scene. I denied it. I went to AA once, and then I forged all my signatures.
Mm.
So I think I went a couple times.
What did you think when you went to AA then?
These people are fucking crazy, and I don't belong here. I don't
Right.
belong here, you
I'm not
know.
like these people.
and I kept a shell, and so I had the blower in my car.
I got out of that.
So before the blower was really popular and everybody was getting DUIs around town, they had it where you gotta go and you gotta get it checked once a month. So once a month, it was like halfway to Cocoa Beach and from here to Cocoa Beach, like Melbourne.
Yeah.
So I had girlfriends in Cocoa Beach, and I was like, sweet. So I would go to the place, get my blower checked, and then I would drive to Cocoa Beach. I would leave my car in a permanent spot until Monday morning, and then I would get up and I would drive all the way back home. It's like a 2-hour drive. Get washed up and go to work. But I had a lot of trouble with that fucking blower because
they're the worst things ever.
I didn't stop drinking. So as long as you have the blower, you go through these classes and you have to do like these one-on-one sessions. You get drug tested. I went through a lot of stuff. Like one time I drug almost tested positive for cocaine.
Almost?
Yeah,
How do you
almost.
What do you mean?
I just like distracted her, but the line was like very faint. It was like one of those like you pee in a cup and you put the. So I was not following the rules at all.
So you were doing coke?
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
But I was like,
how does it
But in my mind, the consequences weren't strong enough for me to be like, you know what, maybe I should just, for this 1 year or this 6 months, just not drink
It was
or
probably
do
12
drugs
weeks.
or
It was
anything.
probably a 12-week drug program.
Yeah, and so I had to keep redoing it and redoing it, and I got more and more. And so then finally I got through that, and that took a long time because I just couldn't follow the rules. But again, it was never my fault.
Right.
Like it wasn't.
Right.
The blower, it's hot, it's Florida, it's the blower. It's not working. You know, I didn't drink enough water. The cocaine was still in my system. Whatever, you know, it's just nothing was.
I was
like,
dehydrated from all the coke I did. Totally
And it
not
wasn't
my
like-
fault.
You know, in my mind, it was like, oh, it was the weekend because it was like that Monday, so I couldn't. You know, it was like 3 days
Right,
or whatever. So, you know, in my mind, I just was like, oh, it's weekend. It wasn't like I was, you know, doing coke during the week or whatever. Like I was a normal person during the week, and I just thought these weekend benders were like normal.
Right, that's what everybody does at
Yeah.
22.
Well, I was a little older.
3.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get past the first DUI.
Yeah.
We get through all that bullshit. What does life look like now? Like after that?
So after that, fast forward a couple.
Same thing. Boyfriends.
Yeah,
Trouble.
boyfriends all over,
whirlwind,
trouble,
Don't get
bars, a lot of bar time. That's when I started going to bars with my friends. So when I would go up to Cocoa Beach, we'd go to the bar, go to the bar. And I always,
That's all there is in Cocoa Beach.
yeah, you go to the bar and you go to the
Mhm.
beach and
Right.
you drink on the beach and then you go to a bar and then you
You
drink
go
more at
clean up,
home.
take a nap.
My
go back to the
friends
bar.
lived literally on the beach. So it was like
Yeah,
a
it's
party.
wonderful
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
All the time.
And so that's really when I started like, I always drank faster than anybody on anything. I was always like, oh, I'm thirsty. Thought that was normal.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna
Yeah.
interject one
Okay.
quick thing, like, that I do think, like, cause I feel like my drinking spiraled crazy when I moved down here. Like, I
Okay.
drank too much before, it certainly didn't start down here. But I feel like here, because we live in paradise, we have this weird sense of like being on vacation all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're on vacation every weekend.
Right.
You could, it's like a 3-day beach weekend every weekend. And I think that's really easy to get into that mentality of like laying on the beach, day drinking, doing whatever, because you feel like you're on vacation all the time.
Right.
Crazy.
And there had been a couple of times where like I had like randomly like passed out when I would drink and then not eat if I was getting like depressed or something. I remember that happening one time and then I just like passed out. So there have been multiple like scary
Signs, yeah.
scary situations that normal people would probably be like, oh, this probably isn't a good idea. Like this could be part of it. So I think that's really when it started. When I started going to bars and I was just like, I drink, like this is me, and I started like identifying as that like drunk, like I'm gonna
Sort of
have a
introduce
good
yourself
time.
as the drunk friend, like, hey, I'm the
Kind
drunk friend.
And my friends might have a different perspective of this too.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, I'm living life, blah blah blah, like,
Yo.
and I couldn't finish school, and I couldn't just, I had just a job, which is great, but it wasn't the career path I wanted. I was like floundering around, and then I kind of reined it back in, and I think I was still living with my parents. I lived with them for a while, on and off throughout my 20s. Definitely went back there quite a few times. Like, and thank goodness I had them to kind of go back to. My mom's always been worried about me. My dad says I remind him of his sister. She was an alcoholic and died young of lung cancer. which again should be enough for anybody.
Right.
Not be
Thanks,
smoking
Dad.
and drinking, right? So,
So I'm sorry, I don't want to
you're
fast
fine.
forward you. When I met you, so I've known you I've been here 6 years, so I've probably known you for like
4?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe like some 4 or 5. Yeah.
Mhm.
Had you had the second DUI at that point? When was the second one?
The second one was, I was so insecure by this point. I was so insecure of, like, you know, I was never like, I feel like I was ever skinny enough. You know, still parts that I still feel like I deal with, but like
Right.
never skinny enough, never smart enough, never pretty enough. You know, I mean, I think I'm hilarious, so I think I always had that kind of humor trick I could pull out.
Right.
So you know, when you're good at something, like, and that works,
Right,
oh,
that
they're
works, I'll
laughing,
do it
right?
again.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So, what was I talking about?
I was curious when.
right,
I don't want to
second
do,
DUI,
I don't
no,
want to
no.
derail your story. I was just curious when the second DUI was.
So first one was 22. It was just outside of 5 years. I had,
From the first one.
Mhm.
Okay. Got it.
and I was in this. I had this boyfriend, and he went to Europe all the time, and then he came home, and then he was my boyfriend, and then he went to. So I was like really insecure about all that, and I was already just feeling really insecure because I was at this point where I'm like, all right, what was I, 27?
That'd be about
Yeah,
right.
yeah, 27, and I had my degree. I wasn't working at anything that was towards my degree. I have my degree in marketing, so I was just doing a job that I was doing a compounding pharmacy tech, which was a great job. I loved the company, but you know, it wasn't what I wanted to. He was in and out. I lived with a girlfriend, and I went and hung out with his mom. I drank this was after I went to the gym, ran 5 miles, and swam. Yeah, I was into swimming for a little bit, not now. And then I got dressed. He was in Europe. I went to his mom's house. I had 3 martinis, and I was like, and what do you do? What do I do when I'm drinking? I want to smoke a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, she's never gonna let me smoke a cigarette. So that was in Stewart. So I was like, I'm gonna drive home.
So I can smoke butts.
So I drove home. I was just like they say as a statistic, less than half a mile away from home. Not sure which road. I wasn't going the right way.
You were in Stewart.
I was in Fort Pierce.
Oh,
I wasn't driving the right way. Like I missed my turn, and because I missed my turn,
Excuse me.
no, like I had gotten pulled over.
Sorry.
It's okay. And it was a very odd getting pulled over, and it was probably because I was drunk, but I felt like there was way too many cops for one little person.
Oh.
It was that.
You must have been really driving badly.
Yeah, it was, you know, I pulled over in a Taco Bell, which it still gives me a little like heebie-jeebies to drive by that. Yeah. And that was just a nightmare. That one made
Why
me
did they
feel
pull you over? Were you like
I was
leaving? Or?
speeding. In the lane though, in one lane. So, you know, you try to like find all these little like ways to get out of it, right?
Right.
I had a good attorney, but it was bad. I couldn't drive for 3 months, anything. So like that, I don't know, I just had never been that restricted.
And did they do the whole thing again? They cuffed you, they take you to jail, and you had to
Oh
do the whole
God,
thing?
yeah. I didn't blow, so I didn't blow.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I didn't blow. And I had to go to jail, and I was in jail, and I was just crying in jail.
Yeah,
And
we're
it's
not jail girls.
like, no, I'm like, you're treating me like an animal.
Yeah, we're not jail girls.
And like,
Emotional
so bad.
preparedness for that.
I was in a leadership program, and they do these little field trips, and part of that was one day they went and brought you to the jail, and I literally was like crawling out of my skin at that. Like that it really made me, I was like, oh, like because it's the same jail.
Yeah. Yeah. Been here.
Yeah.
Had a different tour last
my God.
time.
And the chief made a joke about it, because I was just like, I'm friends with him from like, oh God, it was bad. So, all right, so second DUI, I feel like a piece of shit. I had to move back with my parents because it's so expensive. You can't afford
you're
not to.
so fucked over. Yeah,
You're
so
screwed.
fucked over. I feel like okay, so you fuck up. Obviously, you have to pay some consequences, but it's like they're on a mission to make you a junkie under the bridge.
Mhm.
Like they do everything in their power, like fuck you over so you can't recover. I don't know, it's crazy.
Well, and another thing too is, again, that wasn't enough, right? I still, I had the blower again. I had issues with the blower again, Yeah,
Right.
because
So-
the morning after, it's still in your body, and I can pretty much like metabolize pretty quickly. Like I can drink enough water, I kind of know my body, but man, I guess I didn't know it that good because again, I had like more time on the thing. And it's embarrassing.
Oh, horrifying.
Ooh. And then like, nevertheless trying to do it while you're crying.
It's such a good blowjob. What is that blowjob practice?
Oh, it'll talk to you too, blow harder. Yeah. Oh man. And you're like,
I got out of this thing. It's actually called an interlock device.
I just call it
the blower is an interlock device. I got out of it, so I didn't have
my lip is like tingling. That's like the noise you have to like.
Oh my god. I worked for AAA for a really long time. I used to run road service for AAA in the area I'm from, and people would call all the time because they wanted us to tow them because the thing wasn't working. And we were like, sorry, that is not your car breaking down. Even if the device is like actually malfunctioning,
which doesn't really happen a lot.
I suspect most of the time it was not the device malfunctioning. Yeah.
So fast forward. So that was DUI number 2. Lots of consequences.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of what.
But the drinking career continued.
Oh yeah, I still drank. I did not drink, and I went to all the stuff. I went to all the things in Jupiter.
Mm-hmm. You didn't want
all
old
the
people
counseling.
to see you.
Right.
Yeah. Relate to that.
So I drove far for that. I did that. And I just was really like shitty. Like I was in a really dark kind of place. Like I wasn't, I did go through a phase where I didn't drink. I take that back. There was like a couple months, probably like 6 months I didn't drink.
Mm-hmm.
After, it wasn't directly after the DUI, but it was like DUI, 3 months, went away on my birthday, came back, and then when I moved back in with my parents, I was like, all right, I'm gonna not drink. And my boyfriend went back to where
I was gonna say, were you still with your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Okay. And he didn't care? Like, whatever, you gotta do
I think he just felt guilty because I was with his mother.
Mm.
So I think that's why he stayed with me.
Okay.
And so then I didn't drink for a while, and I was able to, and I remember feeling my head feeling so clear when I wasn't drinking, right? And I went to my girlfriend's husband's 40th birthday party, and I was like, I'm not gonna drink, because the next day I had to drive somewhere in the middle of the state for an interview. It was like they were doing like this mass interview thing, and I was just one of the people getting interviewed.
Yeah.
And I'd never been interviewed before, so I was really nervous, and I hadn't been drinking. And because one thing I do is I get in these like little spells where I won't drink, but I'll work out a lot, and then I'm like, when that month is over, then I hit it hard. You know, it's like you start right. I mean, for me, every time I've stopped drinking and started again, I pick up right where I left off.
Right. Which is what we hear all the time.
All the time, and I know that. I mean,
and
I
definitely,
know that.
I mean, I did it when I didn't drink for, it was like 3 weeks. It wasn't even anything super exciting, 3 or 4 weeks. And that was the beginning of the end, the 2-week bender of, back-to-back blackouts, craziness,
So I remember, and just like key little times where you think like, oh God, this might be an issue. Like, and I remember I did drink, and I drank a lot. And I drank so much that I had a blow in the car, and I couldn't leave town to go to the interview because of the blower. And then by the time I got there, another thing that I didn't mention was the anxiety. That's probably been like the biggest, besides telling the truth all the time, the anxiety, and maybe that's what it's from because I am telling the truth all the time. I don't have the anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
But the anxiety, I remember being in the hotel room when I finally got to go there and trying on my suit, and looking over my notes, and my brain was so dumbed down from being still hungover.
Right.
That I didn't do good on the interview. I was one of the first people to let go. So then I spent the whole crying on the way home. You know, I ate really bad the night before too because I was trying to soak up from the hang.
Right.
So just like, and I remember looking in the mirror in the hotel room being like, oh, I can't believe I did that last night. Like, and I've said that so many times before.
I didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to. How many times have I had said that?
Right.
Oh, I'm just gonna have 2 and then I'm gonna go. So that was that was sad. And fast forward out of that relationship, moving on, whatever. I've just always had a type that enabled me to drink no matter what. If they made 10,000, if they made 100,000, like that's, And so I ended up, I wasn't drinking for a while. I was about to go on vacation, and this is like, now I'm like 30, and I was living with my boyfriend, and
This is around the time that I met you.
yeah, maybe a little bit before that. And you know, I was working a job somewhere, like a off thing with Jenna, the PGA show, and got super wasted.
Oh, I definitely knew
all
you
weekends.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just made a really poor decision and cheated on my boyfriend. And that was alcohol
Like
induced.
hooked up with some rando.
Yeah. And convinced myself, you know, and I look back at it now, it's funny because then, like, not funny, but, you know, I convinced myself at that time that it was because I wasn't in a good relationship. And it wasn't in a relationship.
The relationship wasn't good.
But I justified my actions by that.
Right.
And that still wasn't enough with the alcohol, right? That still wasn't. And then I just started drinking all the fucking time after that because I know internally I just felt guilty about it. And I just started drinking because why do we want to address these feelings?
Right.
And then fast forward to, you know, a year
So
ago.
Lindsay goes on vacation with the boyfriend. Sorry, I'm gonna interject here. She goes on vacation with the boyfriend, and I'm convinced. Now we were friends, but we weren't as tight as we are now.
Oh, no.
Like we knew each other. We were friends. We were friendly.
Oh God.
We played some golf together. We know each other super well. But I was convinced I knew she was going on this big trip with the boyfriend, and I was assuming she was coming back with an engagement ring because I didn't know the unhappiness part because we weren't that tight then. I knew you had gone off with Jenna. I didn't know the other piece, you know. So the first time I talked to you after you got back, I was like, "Oh my gosh, did you come back with a big fat ring on your finger?" And she was like, "Yeah, no, we broke up."
I moved out.
Right. Guess I should get to know you better.
And that's another
And then I
thing
became
too.
your drinking buddy.
Right? And another part of that too is like, and Pat tells me now, is like, you were so good at hiding the fact that you were so miserable. And so there becomes a point where you're like, is it the alcohol? Was I just miserable? And like, I don't
It's like
even
a
know
chicken
how to
and egg.
explain it.
Was I drinking because I was miserable? Was I miserable because I was drinking?
Right. And
Maybe a little bit of both.
I think it's definitely both. I mean, I think there comes a point where you're just like, and when you're in it, it's normal, right? It's the machine. If you're in the circus and everyone's a freak show, it's normal to you to be a freak show.
That's such a great one.
Right. But when you just like, if you're not in the circus,
right,
and you meet someone from the circus, then it's a little crazy, right? I don't know.
Right.
So with, you know, then it was Father's Day last year.
Yeah.
Pat and I had been serious for like 6 months. I still wasn't being honest and about everything, and I knew that when I stopped drinking in June 16th, that last night, I had a glass of wine and I went to bed and I didn't drink. And I really stopped for Pat. I stopped because I didn't want him out of my life. I knew that if I continued drinking, that would go.
Right.
And that was the reason I was hesitant to even start dating him, because we've been friends for so long. I knew he was gonna call me on my bullshit. He always did.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I projected that onto him, and I'm like, you're not ready. I don't think you've had enough time. You're not ready
for this.
You need enough ready. You have, because he had just gone through a divorce. I'm like, you need more time. You need time. And really, it was, I needed it.
I don't really need you to see what a hot mess I am.
Right. And so, you know,
And I'm not really interested in changing this hot mess.
Right. Like,
I like this hot mess,
Yeah.
just as it is.
and yeah, like, you liked me this way before, you know, like, that's
Right,
such a terrible
right.
way to act. But
Well, and you had a little, like you guys have had a little trouble in paradise. We played golf one day that you were really having a struggle, that you two had had some conflict. I'm pretty sure you were still drinking. at the
we were
time.
totally still drinking.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure we were drinking then. And, yeah, sorry, so.
Yeah, no.
I was a part of the beginning of the end of it all.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and we had the same, like, that weird period where we played those back-to-back tournaments and all that, and you were smart enough at the aftermath of that to decide it was time to take a break.
Yeah, and I was sitting there, you know, it was that we played golf. The next day was Father's Day. I was playing golf with my dad. I had 2 beers and a shot with him, and I was like, and then I got home and I was upset because Pat didn't want to see me and blah 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 blah. And then I stopped, and I didn't think it was forever because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna be on best behavior, and you know, that's basically it. And so I was, but then it turned into more, and it didn't turn into more until a month later. So everyone says that they hit their rock bottom at certain times. I feel like my real true rock bottom, and I don't know if it was a rock bottom, but it was more of like what pushed me to the next level, which I guess is the rock bottom.
My sponsor says rock bottom is just where you stop digging.
Okay.
just wherever you stop digging. That's it.
And so I guess I stopped digging was when a month after, it was July 16th, so that whole week, you know, I had this whole reflective, cathartic experience. And after that, when we had like released everything and all the truths were out of everything, you know, it just felt like, okay, sobriety has got to be the way that it's going to go. And even then it was like, okay, but still didn't feel like it was real. Because nothing had felt really real. And then it was
And I think it is really surreal in the beginning.
Oh my God.
Like, it's so hard to, first, you can't say forever. You want to like vomit all over the floor when you go to say it. And you shouldn't say it. You should just wear it. Like the one day at a time for fucking real.
Serious.
Today. Don't fucking care about any other day. But I do think it's very surreal for a long time. And then I think you adjust to, okay, I'm probably never drinking again. Or, you know, I hope I'm never drinking again. Or I think it evolves over time.
Well, yeah, because you start to do things right.
Becomes
like,
normal.
I celebrated a birthday. And I think by my birthday was that when we started going to AA? When did you stop?
So September 25th is my sober date.
Okay,
And we started going right around there. It was like a few days into that or a week into that we.
So I was
day
still,
3
right.
we went to that meeting together.
So I was still really fragile on my birthday. I was sick. We were in North Carolina. We had a Cat 5 hurricane coming for us. We went to North Carolina.
Right.
It was
I
my
stayed home and drank.
It was my birthday. I was sick and I was traveling and just I was in a really good place. Like I guess I didn't feel like I wanted to drink. It just was new. So I think once you get through these experiences,
Right.
like now every time I do something, it's gonna be the second time. It's gonna be the second 4th of July. It's gonna be the second this, and then just you know things just get easier the more you do them, right?
I think it's really true. It's a year of firsts.
Right.
It's a year of first time doing all of these things sober, and you've read about it, and then you somehow make it through it, and now this coming year you'll be like, oh, got that, done that.
And it's so hard to talk about in the beginning, anyways. Like you know, even when we came back from that AA meeting, and I just started crying, like. You know, and a lot changed for me in the past year. So they say like, don't make any changes, don't move, don't make any major decisions. I guess I love a good challenge because I made all the decisions that you know they say not to do. You know, I moved, which I was already kind of living there. But I moved in with Pat. I changed jobs. I don't think I bought anything. I didn't do anything. So there's just 2.
Yeah.
But I think there's, and I don't know when the switch was in the year of sobriety that it was like, okay, this is it. I think it was when we went to AA. I guess that would be it if I could pinpoint it. And we were like, oh my God, remember sitting in your Jeep? So, in a nutshell, that's the story.
So that was what it was like before, kind of what happened and what changed. So what's life like now?
So this is where I get emotional because this week was the 1 year and I woke up and I thought when I woke up I would just float out of bed. Like I didn't even have to walk anymore. Like I would just
toes dragging
float,
through the rose
petals. Put on my little wings, you know. And I did it and I felt really like kind of odd.
Anticlimactic.
Yes, perfect. And so until I saw you. Till I saw you in that coffee shop. But really, like, Amy was so sweet. She was probably more excited than I was. But, so she baked me a cake, and due to COVID, let me rewind. We made a date that on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, we'd go to our 4 o'clock meeting that we know more people there.
It's our little home,
right.
Away from home group. Like, we haven't super been home groupy people
Right.
at this particular hall, but it's where we first kind of started going and made some AA
It's
friends.
where people expected to see us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, and that's generally why they want you to have a home group, right? And so we made a plan to meet there, and Amy had baked a cake so I could get my chip. And
Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
On our anniversary, we have cake because it's our sober birthday.
Well, all year I was like, if I make it to a year, I want a motherfucking parade. Like, I want a parade. Like, y'all should start working on the floats.
I really
everything.
did try to think about how I could do a parade. Like, I wanted to borrow somebody's car that had like a convertible and drive you around town in it, sitting on the back of it. But I was like, I just don't know how I could really make that part happen. I really did think about
You
it.
did so good. So when I actually looked at my phone, because I try not to look at it first thing, And there was like all these like little gifts of different parades. Like one was like that's all, and so she literally gave me a
It
parade.
was all the parts of the parade. It was the band, and it was the grand marshal, and
it was special.
Parade.
And so when I saw her cake, and we were eating cake, and we were kind of like rushed to get in there, so we get into the hall, into the building for the meeting, and it's there's X's on the floor where the chairs are, and Amy always just scoot our chairs together.
because we're social distancing, so they're like
Right.
60. It's not our normal setup. It's usually long tables with tons of chairs, and now they're trying to social distance, so we have to be.
Yeah, and that was probably like, well, that's one thing.
So we're like, fuck you, social distance.
Yeah, and so I knew I had to say something. I don't usually like to speak, but I was like feeling emotional just when the meeting started. I was like, and I was just like looking up, like trying not to cry already. Yeah. And then, I did say, thank you. Because it's important that they know that what they're doing helps me, even though I don't connect with, like, the big guy, Mike, the buff guy, right? Like, who would have ever thought that guy maybe didn't affect? And sometimes, like, what he says, it, like, you're like, holy shit, like, I never thought about it that way. And, like, you probably, walking down the street,
You would not
think that he would have those thoughts, right? And so it's just important.
Why is an imminent junkie?
I know. And so I said what, a little bit, and then I was like, oh, and I started crying immediately. And then oh my God. So then Amy at the end of the meeting gives this like 3-minute speech about how wonderful I am and how great, and just how it was, oh my God, it was so emotional. And then she gave me my 1-year check. So then we're just holding each other like, I'm just like holding her crying, and everyone's like clapping, and I'm just like, oh. Like ugly crying on the side of the
There were some pig noises. It was a little bit ugly cry pig noises.
And it was so good. Like, it just made me feel like loved.
There were also a lot of newcomers in that meeting. Like, I don't know if you noticed that, but there was a smattering of newcomers, and there are some who seemed to be coming back, like people who had relapsed. And I think it's even more important at those meetings that people share something,
right?
And you did. What you said was very heartfelt. Like, you were acknowledging that it's a big milestone, and that coming to meeting has been a part of your recovery. And I just think what you said was perfect. It was great.
So that was wonderful. And then Amy was sharing cake out of the back of her Jeep to everybody because we can't bring the food
They're not allowed food in the hall because of the COVID.
Right. So it was just so cute. I walk out and then there's
you were getting cake.
Yeah, there was like 10 people that were like, woohoo, great cake. I'm like, she made the cake, And so it was just really, and then I'm driving home with half a cake with no lid on it.
I know, it was hilarious.
So, and I was just like emotional, like I just drove home and I didn't even like put the radio or anything on. I was just like reflecting. It was really nice. And I called my parents and they were all so excited. And they absolutely adore you, even I don't think you've ever met them. They're like, well, thanks for Amy. And my brother's the same thing. And so then I get home and I'm like all emotional, and there's this huge, one of the biggest bouquets I've ever seen of these beautiful white lilies and soft pink roses, and all the lilies are open now, so it's like huge. And there's Pat and a little bag and a card, and Pat sitting on the floor, and I was just like, and I just saw it and I ran up to him and started crying. So crying, and he got me the cutest card. It's this like tiger, and it's got like a unicorn tiger, and it's got like these rainbows, so it's like really glittery and outrageous, and it says, "You're almost too awesome to be real." And then he wrote the most beautiful passage in it, which is just melted my heart about his journey and going through this journey.
Good job, Pat.
Oh man,
good job, Pat.
And then I opened my little gift, and he had this cute little mug, and it was like, "Look at you being all sober and shit for 1 year," and it was cute. And then this little keychain, which is on the keys, I'll show you.
So sweet.
And it just made me feel really, really good. The next day I went to my parents, and they were really sweet and just emotional. My dad was crying, my mom was crying, of course I was crying. I talked to my girlfriend on the phone that night. I started crying again, just because like how life is now. I guess to circle back to your question.
That's kind of where I wanted to go. I wanted you to tell.
It's so amazing.
What's
like
the difference?
I would have never had the job I have now. I would have never be in a healthy relationship that I have now with like open, honest, unconditional love.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I deserved it by the way I was even just treating myself. And I didn't think I was capable of really even giving it because I didn't care enough about anybody that much as I did about myself. And so now I have the most amazing people in my life, and some people are gone and some new people are in, and it is like, without getting emotional, like I wake up and I'm literally like, I get it. This is a life beyond my wildest dreams, in a sense that I have everything I need. Like everything. I mean, I don't have a mansion and I don't live on the water, which, you know, there's, you gotta have goals, but like I do, like I am loved, I am valued, I'm in a like mutually respected relationship. There's no like hierarchy of like, you know, how that usually goes. Like somebody, it's just, it's good. Like I'm respected at work. I'm in a good position where I've like, you know, gone up a notch in my career. I have great people like you in my life. I mean, I couldn't have done this journey without you. I mean, think about how terrible that would be. So, without getting too emotional, life is perfect now.
Emotional. I'm a little emotional.
And I was like, even the other day, I was in bed and like, you know, one thing I've always wanted is like, you envision your life and like little silly things, and like, instead of like a white picket fence, like I always imagined that like I would be like reading in bed and like going to bed early and like looking over at Pat and seeing him like, and we're reading in bed, and it's just like, well, this is exactly everything that I've always wanted. And with somebody that treats me amazing, you know? And so I never thought I would have that, and I do. You know, even like work, like I love work.
Yeah, you're killing it.
It's amazing. And you know, you and my, like even my parents, the relationship is so much better because they don't have to worry about me all the time.
Right.
So my life now it's awesome. Like I couldn't imagine, you know, even through COVID, like I'm guilty. COVID made it, like we did awesome through COVID.
Yeah, we were
you know?
okay. We were okay. Right. I love that you said the life beyond your wildest dreams, because to me that's one of those things. I say it a lot, but I have a hard time with the rainbows and unicorns. You know, like I don't want to hear that shit. I don't believe that. Life fucking happens. I'm not grateful that I am an alcoholic. Like fuck that. I wish I was normal. Like I can be really cynical about those things. I'm emotional about that for you. That was really cool to hear you say that, and I kind of almost get it.
You do.
I kind of almost get it. Like I'm not there, but I kind of almost get it. That's pretty cool.
So life is amazing. There's a lot of great things in store for anybody that is thinking, you know, I'm just gonna have one drink. I would say, don't do it. Move a muscle, change a thought. Take it one day at a time.
Remember what happens. Play that tape
Play the
forward. Okay. I can just have one. Can I? What happened the last time I did that? What's gonna happen next? I'm gonna have one, and then.
So in my goals, so we talk about like 1 year, and we probably cut this off, but so goals for year 2.
Yep.
I never went through the steps, and I've never recontacted my sponsor.
Yeah.
So that is my, you know, year 1 for me was survival.
Yep.
Get it done.
There was a lot of growth. You
Yes.
did more than survive. There was a lot of growth, but working the program, not necessarily.
Right.
Okay.
Spiritual, having you create, I have my own kind of program.
Yep.
We're lucky that way.
Yep.
And again, like our men don't drink, especially in front of us, and so we kind of already have that unit and support. But yeah, one day at a time, play the tape, so important.
Yeah. And you can do it.
You can do
You
it.
do this, and it's so worth it.
If we can do it,
So worth it. You can do it. It's so worth it.
it is. The way that this past year has morphed into just like, and like you said, like I am now a woman of integrity, and that has stuck with me this week so much. Like, it's true.
Yep.
And I never knew what that meant.
I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you, and I'm very honored to be your friend and your partner in all of this. And I'm so grateful for you, because I don't think I could. I mean, I can't imagine having done this without you. Like, this team and support system that we've had has been so mission critical. So I'm just, yeah. I said it at meeting. I am excited for all the years that we're gonna do this together. So happy 1 year to Lindsay.
Yes,
I know. I can't. I'm just so excited, and
So,
you know, remember we'll start with, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you
Yes.
want to contact us, if there's topics you want to hear about, you can always reach out to us. We want to hear from you. wildgirlsgonesober@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram under the Wild Girls Gone Sober handle. And
Yes,
That's
we'll be
it,
posting
right?
a lot more. We're gonna up our game. We're upping our production, our quality, and so you'll see us a lot more on social media.
we're working on things.
We are. So thank you, and just remember you can do it one day at a time, and
And wherever you are, you can stay sober wherever you are.
we choose to do it in paradise.
Until next time.
Bye.